blog. Welcome everybody to the WordPress blog post tutorial. If you're watching this, it's probably because you are interested in becoming a writer, or you're already a writer for us. You were doing articles and now you're going to start doing some blog posting. So that's very exciting. I'm going to walk you through from start to finish how to start or how to write your first blog post, and basically everything that you need to know along the way to make sure that it's a good blog post and that it's got some value for our clients, most importantly. So for those of you that don't already know how to navigate through Basecamp, I encourage you to watch that Basecamp tutorial so that you can figure out how to get access to the back end of the WordPress website that you're working on. First thing you're going to want to do is go to the website and go to the login page for WordPress, which is usually just whateverwebsite.com/WP admin, kind of like how you see here at the top. So once you go to that page, it just asks you to log in with the username and password, and you'll be prompted to your WordPress dashboard, which is very similar to what you see here. Now, the only thing you're really going to be focused on doing is managing blog posts. So on the main navigation, which is over here on the left-hand side, you just always want to navigate to the Posts tab. You can either click on Posts, which will take you to the All Posts section, where it shows a list of all your posts. Alternatively, you can click on All Posts. Or you can bypass that if you already know what you're doing and just click Add New. Good morning, Chris. So today what we're going to do is just first go into the All Posts section, and just to kind of give you an overview of what this page looks like. Again, it has all your posts. Kind of like a Excel table here. It's organized in a table, so you can sort by date published, for example. Right now it, I believe, sorted by most recently published articles. So here you can see that we just published one a couple of days ago, and there are a couple of things that you can do here that I find useful. The quick edit menu option that shows up underneath the title of each blog post allows you to do a couple of things. If you click on Quick Edit, you can change the title of the blog post. You could change the URL, slug, which is just basically everything that comes after the .com. And say, for example, this post here, which is called Nationwide Rankings, it's probably the MiamiSEOcompany.com/nationwide rankings is the URL. So you can change that here, but I would never do that unless consulting with us first, because that could be very troublesome. But one thing you can do is change the date. So if you wanted to change the published date, let's say it wasn't published and it was scheduled, you could change the scheduling date. This one's already published, though. You can also change the categories. This one's already set as a slider. So just, get familiar with this quick edit dashboard here that allows you to kind of very quickly modify some of the more popular fields of the blog post without having to actually go in and edit it. That's really all you would really need this All Posts page for. You can sort through all published, anything that's a draft or pending, instead of seeing everything all together like we have here. But one thing that's very important from this page, these little SEO circles here, they should be green. The reason why mine aren't green is because majority of these aren't actually blog posts, but I won't get into explaining what that means. For client purposes and for the purposes of content writers using this back end, you would always want these circles to be green, because that means that your SEO factors, all of your SEO factors are basically rated good. So that means the title and the description, which are here on these two. If you scroll to the top, it'll say SEO title, SEO description. Basically what that's telling you is that you have an optimized title and description that matches the title of your post, and along with a lot of other things that it rates. So let me go into one of them. For example, setting up a remarketing campaign. That's a blog post that I wrote on February 19th. When you click on any of the blog post titles, it takes you to the actual post. You have the title at the top, you have the URL or the permalink, which is right here. So if I wanted to view this page, I would just copy this URL right here and go straight to it. You can also edit the URL, which again, don't do unless you consult with us first. You can view the post by clicking here, and I'm just going to right click it and open link in new tab so we can keep this open. But as you can see, it just loaded up a new tab here, and it's opening up the page. So as you can see, the title's here, and all the content that we wrote along with an image that I included is in here. Another image, another image, another image, a couple of titles here, paragraph titles, which are important. You should already know that if you're writing content for us. More content and author signature in the bottom of the page. So going back to the page, or to the post, the back end of the post within WordPress, starting from the top, we have the title, we have the permalink, we have the ability to edit the permalink right here, we have the view post button, and the get short link. Get short link is really just going to help you if you're doing social media. It'll provide you with a really quick link that's very condensed and shortened, so it's not as long as the original, but you don't need to worry about that. So that's basically the top navigation here. When you start getting past that, it's really to start actually creating the post. For example, you can add media. So anywhere in the content, doesn't matter where, I could choose to just click here, add media, and upload a picture. It's very similar to using Word, Microsoft Word, or Facebook. You basically can either upload a file from your already existing media files, so like an album. If you have Facebook, you have an album with all your pictures in there, or you can upload a file by clicking Upload Files. Select Files, and it'll open up your computer's hard drive where you can navigate to either your desktop, your downloads, or whatever you want to find the pictures that you want to upload. So I'm not going to do that, but just to give you an example, let's go ahead and actually just load one up in the back end here. I have this funny cat meme picture. So it's selected, and on the right here, you can see a snapshot and the attachment details, basically the size, the title, and the alt text are actually important. You would want to give it a relevant title and alternative text. That's something that's critical. If you're writing blog posts, every time you add a picture, you have to give it an appropriate title and description. This picture is a picture of a cat, so I would put funny cat meme. That's what they're called. These pictures with captions are actually called memes. Same thing here, funny cat meme, and that basically can match the title. You can insert that into the post, and let's just go ahead and do it just for the fun of it and to show you an example. I included it here. That's the actual code of the picture that's included. So you'll notice that it has a snippet of code. That code translates into a picture. To view what you've done, you click on Preview Changes right here. So you click on that, and you'll be able to view the picture with ease. Let it load here, and you'll see what you've been able to, or what you've done, so that you can actually, before publishing your live edits, you'll be able to see what it looks like. So the image is now here, the cat meme, and it's right where I inserted it into the text, right before the step 1, log into AdWords, and right after below to retrieve it in the content. So if we go back, you can see here below to retrieve it, then a bunch of code, and then step 1, log into AdWords. So that's right where I inserted the image, and that's exactly where it showed up. So before going live, you can hit preview changes, make sure it looks right, and then finally hit publish. Since mine's already published, the option says update. But if it's not published yet, it would say publish. So I'm going to remove this line of code. And by the way, if you want to figure out a way to really become familiar with whether or not there's images in your code, if there's ever a less than sign followed by an A, and then the same thing, but it has a / in front of it at the end of the line of text, that's an image most of the time. And you can usually see that it has the URL of the image. So 2014 uploads, that's when I uploaded that. Anyway, food for thought. I'm going to delete this. Another really great thing, actually, before I delete that, let me put it back. Toggle between these two tabs, text and visual, to get a snapshot visually of what you're doing. So instead of actually seeing code, you'll be able to see the real thing in the back end here. So, for example, this right here is a header, and in order to make this show up as a header, I had to wrap it with a header tag. So if we scroll down to that section where it says how to set up a remarketing campaign above the "oh my god, I'm so scared" cat meme, you would see that it's wrapped up with a header tag. And H1s are header tags, H2 are header tags, H3s are header tags. The difference between the numbers are size of letters. So H1 has really big letters, H2 has smaller letters, H3 has even smaller letters. So right now it's kind of small. How to set up a remarketing campaign because it's an H3. If I change that to an H1, you'll see it gets really large because it's supposed to be the first paragraph heading. And if there's subparagraph headings, you would make subparagraph heading 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so forth. So that's basically how to use your heading tags. Just make it aesthetically pleasing. You don't always have to use them intelligently. I just try to have at least 2 or 3 paragraph headings in each of my blog posts so that I can include, some good keywords in there. Obviously, the focus keywords that are assigned to your account you can find in Basecamp in the right boards, and make sure you're using the keywords in these blog posts throughout the paragraphs and the paragraph headings, as well as trying to come up with relevant images that you can apply titles to and descriptions on the images as well. So, what's that? Oh yes, don't ever steal images from Google. If you need images, you need to either take them from the client's website. They usually have a social media account. That's a good place to get some images as well. But if you absolutely need images, just contact one of the project managers or Denise, who's the content writing manager. You can also create a private message in Basecamp to Denise or email her or myself, Sergio, if you have any questions. But for the most part, that's how you use headers. So starting from the top, I used a nice little image here to include as a featured image. So if we go to this and actually look at it, the featured image actually is not loading here, but usually what you would want to do is either have a main image at the top or just get right into the writing. It's really up to you depending on how you're managing your post. This one, for example, does have a featured image, it's just not rendering. I'm going to get rid of this cat meme now since we don't need it. So while you're in visual, you can just click on it and then hit the remove button. While you're in text, you would actually have to physically remove the image, or the code of the image, like we went over before. So getting started on a brand new post is what we're going to get into next, but I think before we move on, there's a couple of things that you should be aware of here. On the top right here, when there's an already published post, the published date sometimes will be used to change the location of the blog post and where it's shown on the website. So for example, if you go to our website, or one of our websites, the Miami SEO Company, if you scroll down to the recent blog post section, you'll see that the most recent blog posts are showing up in order of published date from left to right. So the most recent blog post that I made was the SEO do's and don'ts of modifying your website, and then how to choose an SEO company. So these are the oldest ones going towards the right, and the newest ones are towards the left. If I wanted to rearrange this, I would simply have to change the publish date of my posts. So right now I'm looking at setting up a remarketing campaign, which is actually one of my older posts. If I were to change that to today as the published date, which is the 5th, it would show up in the #1 position. So fun fact of the day. Also, you can edit the status of it from published to draft to pending review, but you really don't need to do that. So let's go ahead and see what else actually before we go on. Categories, you can change the category. This is going to also apply a change to the URL. So this category is pay-per-click, so PPC shows up in the URL of the page, the MiamiSEOcompany.com /category, then / title of post is usually how it's generated. These URLs are created automatically, so be careful with your title and your category. Choose good titles, good categories that are relevant and related to the keywords that you're focused on. You can go to the right boards in Basecamp to see what keywords you should be focusing on. Now, let's go ahead and move on to creating a new post. I'm going to go ahead and there's two ways to create a new post. Again, you can hover over post and then click add new, or you can go to the all post page and there will be a button at the top that says add new, just like this one. Show you. This is the all posts page, and here's the option to add new, just like in the already published page that we were editing. There's an add new button. So we'll add new now and get started. I'm going to write a post today about how to, or the fact that we've redesigned our website. So I'm going to try and come up with some keywords on the fly that I think would be good. New web, or let's just say website redesign Miami, Miami web design company Miami, and web design services Miami. So I'm just going to use these keywords throughout my post. I just did it on the fly. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is create my title, and I'm going to try and come up with something clever. We just redesigned our website, so I'm going to try and use that as a way to include my keyword naturally in the title without making it seem like I'm just trying to make my keyword-rich title get noticed by the search engines. I want it to look good, relevant, and I don't want it to make it seem like I have a spammy website. So one thing you wouldn't want to do is web design company Miami hyphen website design Miami. Basically, that's just a bunch of keywords. It doesn't look good. So why do that? Google doesn't like it. Clients don't like it. It just gets you in trouble. A good way to do it, though, would be our latest, I'm just thinking really quickly here, web design, the Miami SEO company. So now I have my company name, which is the Miami SEO company, and our latest web design. So in essence, from left to right, the search engines are going to be able to see that it has web design and Miami and company in the word, which is good. I have company, I have Miami, I have web design. So actually what I would want to do is include redesign in here as well. So now it has design and redesign. So this is just something that you can do. You don't need to put too much thought into creating a very good title. Just, again, make it have a keyword or two in there and make it relevant, which this is relevant. We just redesigned our website, and this is our company name. So, brilliant. Next, start with the first paragraph. If you want to include an image to show the redesign, I think that would be a good way to start. I could just go to the home page of the site and maybe, zoom out a bit and just try and, take a nice little snapshot of, say, the top of the page. There's a really good plugin to use called Awesome Screenshot. If you just Google Awesome Screenshot and you use Google Chrome, you can add that as an extension. If you click on this little camera button, you have the option to take snapshots of your screen and make edits to them. It's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is just snap the visible part of the page, and I'm going to save this to my computer so that I can add that snapshot. Boom. Save. Desktop. I'm going to give it a good title because that's important. Try to use a keyword. The Miami SEO company website redesign. Save it to my desktop. Close this, and now I'm going to add it to my post here. Zoom back in. So the first thing that you're going to see is my website redesign snapshot at the top of the post, which is perfect because I want the readers to see a snapshot of the redesign right away. Letting it load, and the title that you used when you save the file, will aggregate into the title. So that's why I said if you're going to save images, might as well knock out creating that SEO friendly title and kill two birds with one stone. So I'm going to select all, copy this, paste it here. Control C and Control V, like Victor, to copy, then paste. Or you can right click, you have to select all, which you can do by clicking Control A, then right click, copy, right click, paste. But quick way to do that is just Control A to highlight all, Control C to copy, then Control V to paste. So shortcuts help you. They're going to help you produce more content in a shorter amount of time, which means more per hour for you, the writer. So boom, insert into post. Now that I have this into post, I want to go to visual and show you something. Once you're in visual, the actual image itself will show up. Sorry, computer is running a little slow. Maybe I should close up all these darn tabs. Okay, so there's the image, and I wanted to show you when you click on the image, the option to remove and edit shows up. This little snapshot here, it means edit. Click on that, you'll be able to see some of the settings. For example, do I want to align the image left so I can have content to the right of it? Do I want to align it in the center or to the right? You have the option to do that. Change the alternative text and the title if you'd like as well. So we'll add the title, and you can also do things like change the width, the size. You want to make it smaller or bigger. You can, that's basically it. The link settings you don't have to worry about. So I'm going to hit update and start writing my content underneath the image. So now that I have the content ready to, or I'm sorry, the image at the top, I can write my first paragraph. And I want to again include keywords in there. So naturally, I'm just going to start off by saying the Miami SEO company just recently redesigned their website, and our traffic is responding to it in a very favorable way. Our traffic stats are through the roof, and our conversion rates are higher than ever. Yeah, for Denise. So I'm just writing my first sentence here. A couple of things that I wanted to show you. Let's say I included a keyword in that first sentence, which I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and write another sentence that includes it. Hiring a web design company in Miami might be the smartest move to make, especially if your website is out of date and your competitors all have very modern looking websites, right? So clients going to see this and say, damn, I have an ugly and old website. All my competitors have really beautiful websites. I want to get my website redesigned. So that's kind of the goal and why I wrote it like that. But the example that I wanted to show you was when you write a blog post, sometimes you have to include links back to pages on your website that are appropriate. So for example, one of my important keywords that I'm trying to optimize my site for so that it shows up on Google is web design company in Miami. Well, I just said that keyword. I wrote it here in my paragraph. So I want to link this back to my web design page so that if somebody's reading this and they say, hey, well, I want to hire a web design company in Miami, how do I do that? Well, they can click on this and then read my page that's all about web design services. And then ultimately there's a form there and they can fill that form out and get in touch with us. So I'm going to show you how to make this a link, but before I do, keep in mind this isn't something that you have to do with every keyword that you use in your content. In fact, you only probably want to do it once or twice, maybe 3 times at most, whenever necessary, and keep a balance of trying to use it for search engine optimization purposes as well as user experience. So again, this is a good user experience because the person reading this might want to find out more about web design. And I'm not going to talk about our web design services that much. I'm just going to talk about the redesign that we just did to our website and why we did it. So I've highlighted the content. Up here, there's a link button, kind of like a paperclip. This link button will allow you to change that into a clickable anchor text. So the text is going to go from plain to basically a web link. You click that, and all you have to do is enter the URL of the page that you wanted to link to. Now, since you have access to different projects in Basecamp, you will want to link it back to the appropriate page of that client's website that's optimized for the keyword that you're linking from. So in my case, I have a web design company page that ranks for a certain set of keywords that are geared towards web design in Miami. Now, for our clients, that might not be the case. I'm going to pull up a client, though, and we'll go ahead and show you an example of the back end of one of our accounts here. Let's see here. There we go. Dragging my screen over. All right. Oh, wrong one. There we go. All right. So this is an example of the Basecamp write boards. For those of you that don't know what this is, there's a problem. Call Denise right away. For those of you that do, you notice a familiar theme here. We have URL followed by a group of keywords that are all very relevant to each other, very similar in nature. So the first group of keywords are assigned to this page, which is pchopper.com/customer wristbands. So you can see all the keywords are actually geared towards wristbands and customer wristbands. Where to find cheap P-Chopper wristbands online, best wristbands for sale online, so on and so forth. Now, if you go down, you'll notice each group of keywords are related to a certain theme. So this one has clearance and discount wristbands. The URL is optimized for clearance wristbands. All the keywords are basically related to clearance and discount wristbands. This one is about vinyl wristbands, party vinyl wristbands. So you have party wristbands, party vinyl wristbands, probably, so on and so forth. This one's about bar and club, Tyvek wristbands. So you have companies that sell bar wristbands, VIP wristbands, club wristbands. We have event wristbands page, and all the event wristband keywords. So I think you get the picture. So once we identify, what the keyword is that we're using to make a link with, we need to find out what page it should be going to. So if the anchor text was, let's say, for example, bar or club wristband instead of web design company Miami, we would then link it to the page from that group of keywords that's right above it. So in this case, it would be, if we were to have bar and club wristbands, we would send it back to the bar and club page. But that's not the case. We're sending it back to my web page that's about web design services. So I'm going to find that page. Since I'm already in my website's backend, I can just click on this home button. I'm going to open link a new tab just to go to the home page. And I'm just going to click on my web design button here. Boom. So now I have my web design page open. And what I'm going to do is copy the URL. Control C or copy, right click copy. And paste it right in here. Click add link. And there it is. Now this is a clickable link to my web design page. See that? So a couple things that we've already done. We've added an optimized title. We've added some content. And we now need to start doing some other things. For example, setting the publish settings. Typically, when you're working with one of our accounts, you're going to have to do a certain set of blog posts per month. So you'll want to schedule them to be published in the future, not just unless you're doing, one a week or two a week and then you publish them as soon as you're done, it's usually better that you create them in advance so that you have the client review them, provide you with feedback before they go live. Depending on how many you have, you might only need to do one a month for a client. If that's the case, then just have it ready a week before you want it published. Send it on Basecamp to the client for review, and get his approval before going live. So here, what we'd want to do is change the status from draft. Actually, no, this is fine. Once it's done, we would see here, go to publish immediately. Instead, you would select a date, in the future. So instead of maybe June 5th, you could change it to June 10th. So it's scheduled for June 10th at 13:14 military time. So you would hit schedule here. Now this button doesn't say publish anymore, it says schedule. So that's how you schedule your posts. Now obviously your client's going to have to log into the back end and check the post to see it. So one thing that you could do is kind of just have all the posts ready in advance and send them just URLs like these here, and explain to them that you're going to have to log in order to view these URLs because they're not public. They are scheduled as private right now. So copy the URL when you're done, put it into Basecamp one at a time, or all of them if you're going to do them all at once, and then send it to your client. Now, another thing, category has to be applied. Right now there is no category, so it says uncategorized. That's not good. We want to select a category that's appropriate. So web design, there's already one there. If there wasn't, you would just simply add a new category, call it web design. Try and use a category so that you have a nice category structure that can be used for users to navigate your website. Very important. Tags, don't have to worry about tags. Skip that. It's really not important. But featured image is definitely important. Every blog post has a featured image, and that image is used to populate on the website somewhere, whether it's here. If you have a featured or recent blog post section, most of our clients do. So this is the featured image that's being pulled. So, you want to have, in our case, we create featured images for our posts sometimes. Other times we just use images that we find that are relevant. So if it's about data and graphs and charts, we'll probably take a snapshot of a chart from Google Analytics using our awesome screenshot app. So to assign a featured image to your post, again, it's on the right hand side here, sidebar. All the way at the bottom there's a featured image section. Right now there isn't one applied, so I'm going to apply that snapshot of our homepage redesign. And it already has a title and a description because I've used it once, but if it didn't, make sure to fill that out. You can just go ahead and click on Set Featured Image. So it shows up there, and that's how you know it's working fine. So just like articles, you want to sometimes include headings. So to do a heading, you would go to Text Editor mode to see the code. And again, just like I told you before, these little NBSP semicolons are basically just line breaks. So if we go back to visual, you'll see that there's a bunch of space here. Spaces are translated into text as ampersand NBSP. So just don't be worried if you see that, leave them alone. And let's say you wanted to start a new paragraph and give that paragraph a heading. Again, if you want it to be a big heading, H1. If you want it to be a smaller one, H3. Always have a less than and a greater than sign wrapping around the heading. And at the end of the heading, you need to do the same thing with a slight difference. Modification. I'll show you that modification now. It's a / before the H3. So it's basically saying, hey, computer, I'm sorry. I want to start a heading, and then I want to finish my heading. So that's basically what you're doing. The start and the finish code for a header. In between is the actual text that you want to use. So you would put, why did we redesign our website. Maybe we want to talk about why we redesigned our website. So I would give it a title like that. But since I want a keyword in there, maybe I'm going to try and include one of these. Web design services. I can put something like, we use our own web design services. Why did we redesign our website? And here's why. And the content can be explaining why we redesigned it. Redesigning websites can help you make the most of your traffic because people trust in companies that have up-to-date sites more than companies with websites from the 80s. They sometimes feel a sense of security knowing that this company can afford to have a nice looking website and it can build enough confidence. Blah blah blah. Alright, so let's go back to visual now and check out what we've added. There it is. So, and it looks like there's a little too much spacing here, so I'm actually going to get rid of some. So there it is. We have another paragraph with a heading on top. The first heading is the paragraph title. So I usually don't include a heading right away, but instead a featured image, or an image at the top, rather. So I also think I have some spacing here that I can do away with. Now, one thing that I want to show you how to do is how to insert images and then have text wrap around them to the right or to the left of it. So I'm going to go ahead and start talking about tracking and measuring our website's performance after the redesign. We are going to measure by using Google Analytics and tracking the average visitor duration as well as other metrics like average time on site and pages per visit. So we use Google Analytics to track things like that, and we can see literally what our average visitor duration is, how many pages per visit they're going to, and things of that nature. So I want to go ahead and log into my Google Analytics and take a quick snapshot of something here. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go to my all traffic report, and we redesigned the site last weekend, so I'm just going to get the last few pieces of the last few days worth of data and compare them to the same date range from before. So we have from Saturday to Thursday. I want from last Saturday to Thursday. Oh, Saturday to Thursday. We'll compare it to custom Saturday to Thursday. There we go. So I have this Saturday to Thursday compared to last Saturday to Thursday. So now I just want to see my organic traffic from Google to see how my stats are performing. It's really a small data sample, but we could see that the bounce rate did go down and things of that nature. So we can use this data for a snapshot in the actual chart. Let's see here. Get rid of this. A little bit more visually stimulating. Capture entire page or selected area, which is what I like. So I'm just going to take a quick snapshot of some of the important stuff here. Um, Actually, no, that's a little big. Just get something real small here. So the point of this is to basically have a small image that you can use and insert on, say, the left or the right side of your post without actually. It looks like it didn't save too well, but it doesn't really matter here. I'm just gonna give it an example as a point. It doesn't really matter what the image looks like, but let's say, for example, I wanted to add an image and I wanted the text to wrap around the right-hand side of it. I'm going to put the cursor right there. I'm going to add media. And I'm going to go ahead and click Upload Files or choose from Media Library. It doesn't matter. So let's just say I want to use that picture I just took. Before adding it, make sure it's the right size. So if you wanted to change it to medium, I would recommend doing that. If you want to wrap text around it, just so it shows up a little bit smaller. Remember, make sure it has a title and alt text. So I copied and pasted that. Insert into post. Now, what I need to do is either click on it here and align left, clicking on the align left button, which is kind of like Microsoft Word you can use to align all your text to the left, or you can click on and click on the align left button here, update, and there you go. It wrapped the text around it. Now, if we go and check the text editor, which shows the code, you'll notice something. It basically took the and it injected a small piece of code into it, which you probably aren't going to have to ever worry about. But basically, it added this here align left piece of code, so it allowed the image to center itself to the left of the page. But the easier way to do it is obviously using visual. Just click on the image and align left. It'll wrap the text below it right around it here on the right-hand side. So let's hit preview and look at the image that we've added and the text wrapped around it to the right. There it is. Now sometimes you'll have a little issue where this text shows up a different size, a little bit smaller, the spacing can be off a little bit. The way to correct that is very easy. You go into the text mode, and at the beginning of the text, the first line or the first little area here, you just add, you separate it, and what you do is above the content, you add a paragraph tag, which is simply P wrapped with a greater than sign, and then a close P to say, hey, end my paragraph. What that'll do is basically just display the text using paragraph text instead of the text that I was explaining. Like I said, sometimes if you align a picture to the left and a text block to the right of it, the text can come out kind of funky, smaller, with weird spacing between the letters. So to fix that, you just add the paragraph tag around the body of text. Make sure to have the opening and the close if you ever do that. Usually it won't be necessary, but just keep that in mind. So that's it. You'll notice a common theme between the open and close tags with whatever you do, whether it's a paragraph tag or a heading tag. You always have to have the same thing in the beginning and at the end of the text, but you have the forward slash and the closing tag. So even with images, you'll notice a opening A tag, which is right here. It has less than and then greater than at the end. Contained within that, you have an A and a link to a certain page. Now that basically just is the opening tag for this image. And at the end, we have the forward slash A wrapped in a less than sign and a greater than sign. So everything starts with something and ends with the same thing. Just keep that in mind. And again, of course, these are used to separate your or create line breaks between whatever you're using, whether it's image or text. So I think we've gone over mostly everything except for the additional settings at the bottom, which if they're not here, they usually should be, and you should recommend it to the person assigned to that account, or maybe send an email to Denise saying, hey, I noticed we don't have the additional settings at the bottom for the map. This map down here is used to assign a geographic location to your post. So if it's a post about Miami web design or Fort Lauderdale, for example, you would want to assign geotags to that page so that it says, hey, Google, I'm writing about this specific location. To do it, you simply type in Miami, Florida, hit search, or whatever location it is, and that's it. So now this page is relevant to Miami, and Google can see that because it applies code to the page that says this was written in Miami. Down towards the bottom, after that or before the geotag window, which is here, you should see WordPress SEO settings. So basically, this is what's going to allow that. If you remember when we went to the all posts section, there were little bubbles here that were green, and to get them green, you have to make sure that your WordPress settings are 100%. How do you know if they're 100%? Well, you assign a focus keyword to the post first. So first, you need to figure out what the most important keyword is. And in this case, it's probably the most shortened version, because usually people type in shortened versions of keywords on Google to find things because they're lazy. So Miami web design is going to be the focus keyword for me here. But if you're working with a particular project, like I showed you before, the P Chopper project with the wristbands, maybe you want to, throughout the course of writing your 10 blog posts, if you have 10 for that client, maybe you want to use one focus keyword at a time for each of the blog posts you write. So the first one you would want to start off with, let's see here, I'm going to go back to the American Creative Write Boards. Here they are. So maybe the first blog post that I write, because I'm doing maybe, for example, 3 a month for each category, maybe the first one I use Peach Hopper wristbands as a focus keyword. And then next time around I use Peach Hopper wristband. And then the third blog post I just use wristbands. So that you know throughout the course of a year you've used each keyword in that group as a focus keyword. So make sure you're keeping track of that. Start at the top of the list. If you're writing one for each category, one blog post for each category, well, start at the top of the list for each one. And then next month, use the second one. The third month, use the third keyword from each group. Just the point is, guys, keep track of what you use as your focus keywords, because you don't want to use the same focus keyword every time. So this time I'm going to use Miami web design. Maybe next time I'll use web design agency in Miami. Okay? So it says, all right, great. You have it in the content and you have it in the meta description so far, so at least you have that. The problem is the meta description is not filled out, so it's just pulling it from the content. That's the only reason why it's like that. So in the SEO title, it's saying, all right, you don't have Miami web design in the keyword. So that's bad, essentially, is what they're saying. But we all know that it can sometimes be very difficult to include a keyword in a title, and it can oftentimes make it seem like your title's just kind of over-optimized. You don't want that. The clients don't like that. Google doesn't like it. So if you don't have it in the article heading exactly as is verbatim, but you see that you do have it somehow, like, for example, it says Web Design Miami. In this case, it actually doesn't. So because Google reads from left to right, they would only see Web Redesign Miami, not Miami Web Redesign. So what I think I'm going to do now to make that green is come up here and switch this. So I'm going to cut this and put it over here. Get rid of this. The Miami SEO Company, our latest web design. I'm going to change it from redesign to just web design. So now at least it says Miami here and then web design. Although it's not going to show up red here, I know that Google's going to read this and say, all right, there's Miami and there's web design. So if we were to do a search for Miami web design, let's see. Because I'm not optimized for that, I'm on page 3, but I am going to start optimizing for it. Actually, I don't even know if I'm on page 3. Let's see, where am I? So you see, I have Miami Web Design, and it doesn't matter where it is, Web Design Company, Miami. It highlights the keyword saying, hey, this is relevant. Miami Web Design, Miami Web Design, website design. So just to show you, it doesn't have to be verbatim, word for word. As long as it's in there, it's okay. So because it's not Miami Web Design in the title, doesn't mean that Google's not going to just Miami, and it'll still count. So don't worry if it's not 100% green. The article heading doesn't have it. The page title doesn't have it. The page URL should have it. So that's one thing you can modify pretty easily. You go here, Miami Web Design News. Because I already have a page called Miami Web Design. So actually, I'm going to call it Miami Web Redesign. Okay. Now I'm going to assign. Oh, sorry. Category Web Design. Perfect. So I selected. Make sure you copy it and get the settings, paste it there, so that it uses the title. That's the SEO title that it's going to show. The SEO title is what shows up on Google. So when you type in Miami SEO company, our home page is the Miami. That's how it shows up here. So the description is the Miami SEO company has talent, industry experience. We are guaranteed to deliver successful results. Call for a free consultation with a certified analyst. If you were to log into the back end of the WordPress post that I made for my page, that description would be right here, and the title would be right here. So I'm going to fill out the description now. I have to give my post a unique description that's 156 characters or less. So give it something that's relevant and include keywords in it, obviously. Web design services can provide a lot of value to your business. The Miami SEO company specializes in Miami web design. Check out our latest redesign today. Didn't fit, no problem. Capitalize this, and now we have a nice description. And we are good to go. So I'm going to get rid of my keywords here just because it was only for an example. And like I said, just get it for the time. So we take this URL and say Basecamp. This is, blog posts. Let's say all of them, I would post them here and say, this one is scheduled for the specific date that it's scheduled at, which we can see on the left here. June 10th at 1:04. And, oh, no, 1:04 p.m. So that's the first one. And then, maybe you have 3 or 4, so it would look something like this. Obviously, with different time frames and different URLs, that you would put, hello, please find the links to blog posts which were created for your SEO campaign. Please let me know if you or if we can proceed with the proposed. If we do not hear from you in 1 week, we will. There it is. Then you could send that to the client, and always copy Denise, Jason, and Sergio. So send it just like that, and always put a little disclaimer. Keep in mind, you will need to log into backend to view these posts as they are not publicly accessible until the publish date. So that's what you would do, and send it to the client. Basically, you'd be good to go. Once that's put in there, the client will receive the message. He'll be able to go ahead and check his blog posts to make sure they're all good. Usually within the first 2 months, there's just a little back and forth, but after that, they don't really care to review each blog post. In fact, they don't want to be bothered. But it's always great to, if you're writing blog posts or articles, reach out to your client and say, hey, I'm having writer's block. Write about, any industry news, anything that your company has been doing lately that I can write about on your blog. These are the kinds of things that our blog writers need to do. You can't just, write your content based around keywords all the time. You need to kind of look at their competitors, see what they're doing, what they're writing about that might be industry-related news and newsworthy stuff. So, the way I do it is I know my industry very well, but if I'm writing about other industries, obviously the only way I'm going to be able to figure out what I can write about is by checking out their competitors and becoming familiar with the industry. So the more you do that, the faster and more efficient you become at writing blog posts. So it's important that you get familiar with the competitors, see if there's competitors with blogs out there and what they're blogging about, because oftentimes I find that the reason why I even blog a lot of the times is because I see my competitors write really nice blog posts about something new in the industry. So let's say, for example, there's a new type of programming language that comes out that's really good for search engine marketing, and I see one of my competitors write about it. I might just turn around and write about it myself, but unique, make it unique content, and from my point of view, and share that blog post while including keywords in my blog post. So the first thing you would ever want to do when starting to write blog posts is become familiar with your competitors' blog posts and their blog, as well as the industry in itself. The more you do that, the more successful you will be, the more money you will make, because it's going to be easier for you to pump out blog posts. If you're not familiar with the industry, it's going to be really hard for you to produce quality blog posts because you're only going to focus on keywords, which is not what we want. We want to focus on newsworthy stuff. This is going on our clients' websites. Their customers will see this. So the quality of this content needs to be higher, and it needs to be well thought out. There's obviously a lot more involved here. So reach out to your client. Introduce yourself through Basecamp with a message. Say, listen, I'm going to be writing your blogs. I would really like it if you could maybe send me some insights, maybe a few links to some resources that I could use to become more familiar with your industry. Also, if you have any blogs that you know about or news type sites that are related to your industry that you could point me to the direction of, that would be greatly appreciated. That way you can write better content for the client. These things are not only important but mandatory. We need you to make that first contact with the client, introduce yourself in the beginning, obviously, and get that type of information. Denise has put together a nice content questionnaire, which you should have access to, so that you can send it to the client and go over it with the client and come up with topics for the blog post for the month. You should be doing that. Every time you send this batch of blog posts, you should probably at the end just put, please let me know if you can provide me with any additional blog topics for next month. With very interesting to posts. So going above and beyond like this is just going to really help the client stay with us much longer and grow with us for the long run, and allow us to be able to keep growing and offer bonus programs for our bloggers. So please, guys, keep in mind that it's not just about the word count. It's about what you're doing to go above and beyond, and that's how we promote from within, give our writers the opportunity to not just write articles, but to start doing blog posts, and then to start maybe doing some social media management, which can all just basically transition anybody who just starts off not knowing a thing about marketing into a full-blown project manager one day. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of potential to grow. I think for the most part we've covered enough, and I'm going to create an additional video. If you have any questions, feel free to email Denise or myself. But for the most part, that is how to create a WordPress blog post. Let me just make sure I didn't schedule. If we want to actually publish, we could just publish it, make it a time that's right now. Change the date to the 5 instead of the 6. Today's, change it to 9:50. We could just change this to 9 and hit publish. Hit publish and it's ready to go. Keep in mind, if there's no featured image, the website has featured image section, it's not going to show up. But this is my blog role, so it shows all of my blogs, my most recent ones. Since it's not published, it's not there. The last one, it's called the SEO do's and don'ts of modifying your content or your website. This is the featured image. It'll show up blank, like this one, which we're redesigning the featured image. So make sure you always have that featured image, and all the other go. Just the WordPress SEO geo tag ones. If there's anything else, don't really worry about it. It's not really important. And that's it, guys. So if there's anything else, like I said, email us. But for now, we're good to go.